Fallen FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried is back on U.S. soil. The U.S. Embassy touting the partnership between the U.S. and Bahamian government, now dishing out some guidelines for holiday travel. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian. It's Thursday, December 22nd. Thanks for staying with us. Accused of committing one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, Sam Bankman-Fried is now back in U.S. territory where he faces a laundry list of criminal charges, including wire and securities fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance violations. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and Commodities Futures Trading Commission have also filed civil charges against the 30-year-old billionaire who as recently as late October had a net worth of more than $15 billion. JCN's Caitlin Babb has more in this report.
Signed, sealed, and delivered, Sam Bankman-Fried is now back on U.S. soil, arriving in New York last night after he was extradited from the Bahamas sometime around 8 p.m. The former CEO and co-founder of failed FTX cryptocurrency exchange and cryptocurrency trading firm Alameda Research arrived in New York, where he faces multiple fraud-related charges. Before his extradition, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell, who was responsible for the Extradition Act, signed off on documents that allowed Bankman-Fried, who also goes by the initials SBF, to be extradited. The road to the fallen cryptocurrency boss's extradition was paved when he waived his right to an extradition hearing less than a week after being remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. In a statement Wednesday afternoon, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Senator Ryan Pinder confirmed the extradition of SBF. AG Pinder noted that the Bahamas determined the provisional arrest of SBF on December 12th. Subsequent written consent by him to be extradited without formal extradition proceedings satisfied the requirements of the extradition treaty between the U.S. and the Bahamas and our nation's extradition Act. Now, in a video posted to social media Twitter, Damian Williams, attorney for the Southern District of New York, announced that FTX co-founder Gary Wang and Caroline Ellison, who headed Alameda Research, were both charged with roles in the frauds that contributed to FTX's collapse. The pair pleaded guilty to the charges against them and are both cooperating with authorities. He further stated that SBF would appear before a judge in the New York district as soon as possible. The U.S. attorney appealing to anyone who may have participated in the misconduct at FTX or Alameda. He says, quote, "Now is the time to get ahead of it," end quote, adding that they are moving quickly and their patience is not eternal. According to international online media The Guardian, Bankman-Fried has been released on a $250 million bail. Under that bail agreement, he will be monitored by an ankle bracelet. He was required to surrender his passport and agree to mental health and substance abuse treatment. He is also required to remain under strict supervision at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California. U.S. Judge Gabriel Gorenstein warned Bankman-Fried that a warrant for his arrest would be issued if he violated any of the bail conditions, and his parents would be liable for the $250 million bond. Bankman-Fried is charged with 8 counts of fraud, including wire and securities fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to defraud the USA. If found guilty, he faces up to 115 years in prison. For JCN News, I'm Caitlin Babb.
On the heels of Samuel Bankman-Fried's extradition to the United States, the embassy released a statement last evening touting the partnership between the U.S. and the Bahamas government, a long history of law enforcement cooperation. Embassy officials say the extradition treaty between the U.S. and the Bahamas has been in force since 1994, nearly 30 years. This is only one of several treaties and agreements between the two nations that allow the U.S. to work hand in hand to enforce the law. The U.S. Embassy commends the Bahamas' government for its commitment to the rule of law and, more immediately, its logistical assistance in addressing a sensitive situation. The Attorney General's office was critical to recent success. They also appreciate the Bahamian judicial system, ensuring our citizens enjoy the benefits of due process. The embassy says through timely communication and coordination, U.S. and Bahamian authorities achieved the mutual objective to respect and uphold the law. Prime Minister Philip Davis and a delegation that accompanied him on a recent trip to Cuba are back in country. The official visit to Cuba earlier this week was on invitation extended by the Cuban government. The visit came as part of the Davis administration's goal to deepen and strengthen relationships with neighboring countries. This also marks the first time the Prime Minister has met Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel face-to-face. According to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the visit went well.
One of the things that happens prior to CARICOM meetings is the Prime Minister, of course, is taking over CARICOM the first of the year, is that he tries to go around and get a handshake face-to-face with some of the world leaders who he'll be interfacing with. So during the Commonwealth processes, he was face-to-face with Justin Trudeau, who may be coming also to the meeting. Also with the Americans, the Japanese. So Cuba being right next to us, and he missed the Cuba CARICOM summit, he felt it was important for us to do that face-to-face.
Foreign Minister Fred Mitchell said discussions centered on education, sports, and healthcare, with focus being on special education. Minister Mitchell says that it now marks 48 years of diplomatic relations between Cuba and the Bahamas, with Cuba proving to be a reliable source of support.
The point is that the ongoing relationship has been good, and a good working relationship. They supply teachers, they supply nurses, they supply doctors. Technical cooperation is one of their strong suits. And so we were happy to be able to concretize many of the agreements which we've done.
According to Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, government officials have set a timeline and expect to be in a position to move on those memorandums of understandings discussed with Cuba by mid-January. The Minister of Education will also be attending interviews in the new year to discuss educational matters with Cuban officials. Well, medical first responders now have a new place to call home as Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville officially commissioned their new headquarters this morning. National Emergency Medical Services, or NEMS, is now in a centralized location in the Monument Plaza, University Boulevard, and it finally meets the needs of the staff, whose motto is a system to save a life. Our Destiny Johnson has more details in this report.
Emergency medical technicians are now operating out of a new facility as the Public Hospitals Authority PHA's National Emergency Medical Services NEMS has relocated to a more centralized location. Emergency Medical Services is now headquartered in the Monument Plaza University Drive, just next to the Royal Bahamas Police Force's Central Detective Unit. The new 5,000 square feet facility has been in the works since 2018 and triples the square footage of the NEMS facility at First Terrace. Director of NEMS, Dr. Alvary Hanna, says the facility finally meets the needs of the staff, as she notes that they are healthcare heroes that provide selfless service on a daily basis.
For any MES personnel from Grand Bahama, Abaco, and from our family islands as our service continues its expansion, this facility will serve as a national home base, a resource for training and professional development, a center to coordinate disaster response and recovery efforts for first responders, and a place for any MS to enjoy downtime when deployed to the capital on duty travel. Needless to say, every member of our team is absolutely elated today. We are so grateful for all who have made this possible for us.
Managing Director of the PHA, Dr. Abinette Roll, outlines the various new features of the headquarters.
That additional capacity has allowed planners to include a dedicated full training room for NEM staff, representing a much-needed upgrade. Other new features include a dedicated staff lounge, a full kitchen, quarters for male and female staff, allowing them to sleep, up to 6 males and 6 female first responders, along with enhanced security with complete exterior camera surveillance, a backup potable water supply, and a backup power supply generator, which allows the facility to be fully self-sufficient in the event of natural disaster. This new facility also provides for a dedicated parking and service garage with the capacity for 5 emergency vehicles and expanded secure storage for equipment and supplies.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville, during his remarks, says training is currently going on at the PHA Academy for the addition of new medical technician professionals, which is a key element in order to improve the services delivery.
We're going to uplift the delivery of services because it's important for us to demonstrate to the Bahamian people that the Ministry of Health and Wellness and all of the PHA we're going somewhere. We intend to transform the delivery of healthcare services throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and we have the professional team available in our ministries and at the PHA to do it. They're here. We don't need to bring people in from outside. We have them locally here.
Dr. Darville says the facility will be instrumental in training additional EMS responders as well as individuals in the private sector who need support. For JCN News, I'm Destiny Johnson.
You're watching JCN News. When we return, a 22-year-old male arrested after he was found with a teenage girl reported missing, and police need your help in finding 4 home invaders. Stay with us.